I open up my Threads account, and this is one of the first posts that I see today from Feminista Jones. She says, "For my followers who are unaware what VanillaGate is, a Black woman told a story about her generous neighbor giving her vanilla beans, and she posted a picture of what they look like using a stock photo of vanilla beans. She didn't post the actual vanilla beans she got, like many of us who have done similar. It was to show people what they look like. White women decided that she was lying because she used a stock photo, and they spent most of yesterday harassing her over it." I'm like, what the hell is VanillaGate? This brought me in, so I'm like, let me look further, because why are you getting upset that a woman got some vanilla bean? Feminista Jones continues, "It was a real-time example of how white womanhood and community are seemingly antithetical. They couldn't fathom someone being so generous to another person because they do not experience that kind of generosity in their own lives, nor do they engage in it themselves. So, for a Black woman to say that this happened, she must have been lying. Black women have had to deal with this kind of antagonism from white women for centuries. It does not stop. It is in every sector of our lives, from social media to our jobs, and even just existing outside in the world if you're in a place where they don't think that you belong. Part of why 75% of white people do not have a friend of another race or culture is because people of those races and cultures do not want to be friends with white people, particularly white women. And the reason the emphasis is on white women is because men across all races and cultures struggle with friendships anyway. In most groups, it is the women who are the leaders of social engagement. And when white women act in these ways, no one wants to be around and be friends. This perpetuates a cycle. I shared about inviting a white woman to my annual cookout, and what a disaster it was. However, there is another white woman who is always welcome in my home. This shows that it is possible, but it is hard to trust when you have experienced multiple levels and instances of harm. Some of you want to be invited, but then show up and bring centuries of colonization with you and wonder why you don't get invited back and no one wants to be your friend. Now, but I have all kind of people in my network. I do understand that I will have white women in my network that might read this and might automatically want to be defensive. I get that. But know and understand how some white women show up in these spaces. It is not welcoming. It's not to learn from us. It is to take over. It is the same ways that some men jump into our comment section and need to take over. Sometimes you have to sit back, take a deep breath, and learn the lesson of how some other people experience the world that might not include, friendly behavior or welcoming behavior. And so this is just an experience. So sit with it before you get defensive. So this woman at the bottom, she is a white woman. She says, "Another day I'm embarrassed and angered by my people." Now I am going to get to the point where we see the woman who's talking about the vanilla. But first, a few more comments underneath Feminista Jones's post. Cooking with Pat Lee says, "It was so disgusting to see her simply expressing joy from a kind deed turn into a hate piece by those demons. They sure did get defensive when we pulled up for her because we don't play about our own." And please know and understand that I would have joined in, because how dare you? Someone's sitting up here showing something that they're happy about, and then you have people that come in and want to pile on. And why? All right, so Feminista Jones says also that it really bothers them to see so many people come to her defense because they do not experience that kind of community support. Mrs. Bundreth says they're the most violent creatures on the planet. And one thing about these aggrieved white women, considering white women are the standard of womanhood, They get to cry, and their tears become weapons. Their tears become dangerous because people want to come out and protect them, even if they are the ones that are the aggressors, especially if they are the aggressors against a Black woman, because the stereotype being about Black women is that we are aggressive and angry and bitter, and then we would need to be put down when it comes to coming for a white woman who is, like I said, the standard of womanhood. So Mrs. Bundris, once again, she said they're the most violent creatures on the planet. And then Miss Princess Laritza says, and yet so very fragile. Feminista Jones says, VanillaGate on No King's Day Eve, 2,520 women are short-circuiting. Then author Olive Winter comes in. This is the woman that had the vanilla. She said, child, now they're going to be mad because I posted the photo of the actual amount I got, and they're going to be livid. And so then Melissa says, was it you? I saw that pre-caffeine with the cat standing on my boob. It was like a dream. So she's like, this could not really be happening. I saw it before I had coffee. And so Olive says, I was the culprit behind the VanillaGate. White women couldn't fathom that I got over $600 worth of vanilla from a neighbor I always give free food to, just 'cause, and lost their stuff, trying to debunk my threads and said I was a liar. So that was the whole thing. She says white women couldn't fathom that I got $600 worth of vanilla from a neighbor because I always give her free food, just because they lost their stuff and called her a liar. Why are you calling a random person on the internet a liar? And like bringing other people into the fold. April's Blue says, what's insane is there is a co-op group that sells bulk vanilla for like $8 an ounce. So like 6 beans. So she probably only spent like $100. I order from them all the time. I have gallons of vanilla extract. Olive said, mind you, I've told people that the reason why my neighbors were able to access that was because they work for a produce company and get groceries for free. They always gift me a bunch of things because they always have a surplus and know I always love to cook. So in exchange, I share with them what I cook and even started some dinner nights with them as a thank you, because that's what community is all about. See, give and take. That is community. And then this woman at the bottom says, you got the jackpot of vanilla, bake all the things. And then I don't know if y'all remember this Muppet from a long time ago that likes to bake and has flour going all over the place. So I had to go over to her page to continue to try to get to the bottom of it. So she says, okay, these are my final thoughts on the vanilla BS with the side of oxtail. All my first thread about me excited about something good happening to me has showed me that a lot of y'all have internalized jealousy and problems with your community because you're an insufferable person that you refuse to deal. You also can't fathom seeing people happy without questioning it because no one in your life is willing to do something for you like that. Yes, I said it since y'all want to try me. Because of this, y'all projected your inner problems. That's for your therapist. That's for a therapist on me, showing that many of you white women, because the majority are white women, are racist, a-holes, and effing bastards with bastard butt behavior. And since y'all decided to drag something that wasn't even a concern into something bigger because y'all can't fathom seeing a black woman happy about her neighbors doing something nice for her, I'm not a nice person to wish you peace. Like Cardi, I wish you hell. They really pissed this woman off. She says, oh, and for those who still continue to hate, here's the correct proportion so you can properly hate. I actually ended up with more vanilla and oxtail than the amount y'all were hating on, so keep using that to fuel your hate. In the meantime, I'll be enjoying my free stuff while y'all wonder why someone can't do something nice for you. P.S. Since y'all can't read, let me properly say these are my photos from my garage storage, and that's why my book's included in the last photo, over and out. And then she gives these little olives because her name is Olive. And so here are all of the vanilla beans. So here is the oxtail. Here's more vanilla that looks like the vanilla. Bella at the bottom says, may you be blessed again threefold. All right. Now, I am going to continue this story, but I'm going to make it into a part 2 because there are more screenshots that I have to go through. I'm continuing to unpack VanillaGate over on Threads. So this is the part 2. And like Feminist Jones says, for my followers who are unaware of what VanillaGate is, a Black woman told a story about her generous neighbor giving her vanilla beans. And this apparently made white women come out and be upset with this Black woman for getting some vanilla beans. Okay, so this is part 2. Here is the white woman. Her name is Maxine Makes It. She is the one that started up this let's hate on Olive over some vanilla bean. She says, I absolutely effed up. There aren't ways for me to apologize enough for jumping on some bandwagon to vilify someone over vanilla. What the hell is wrong with me? Olive Winter did not deserve that. Nobody does. I'm so sorry to her for my poopy words and my actions, and I hope that she makes something amazing with her beans. And then she started to promote Olive Winter's book. She says, if you're interested in buying her book, you absolutely should. So she's trying to play nice now after sicking the dogs on her over vanilla beans. This Black woman at the bottom is not going for that. She said, laughing my effing butt off, just effing wow. Now you're promoting her book. The effing damage is done. Your flunky saw to that. Get the F out of here. This can't be effing real. Yeah, this some BS. Okay, so that's Maxine Makes It, right? So of course I take her name and I try to go over there to see, is Maxine still there? Is this post still up? I look her up and she's gone. Maxine is not making it anymore. I Google her name, Maxine Makes It. She has an Instagram page. She also has these videos where she's showing people how to make stuff. I click on her Instagram page. It's now private. This account is private. Her Facebook page is still up. She doesn't have anything particularly recent on there, but this is what it says. Finding joy in every day while managing my anxiety and ADHD. She must not have been managing her anxiety that well if a Black woman with vanilla beans set her off like that. So as I was searching about the genesis of the Vanilla Bean Gate, I came across this post from Black Girlin. Of course, I immediately followed her because of this post. She says, as someone who posts a lot around food and lifestyle, I can tell you VanillaGate is not a one-off. These microaggressions and policing of Black women in domestic spaces, which a lot of white women think they own, come in many forms. It's a lot of the blue bracelets, safety pins, and pink cat hats that they think they're just commenting and or curious. These newly woke, well-meaning white women bombard into spaces where Black women have built community and insert themselves in something they weren't ever a part of. They think they've done the work and unpacked centuries of racism because they followed a few prominent Black women on socials and let their kids play with the little Black girl at the park. They say it's just harmless exchanges, but they don't understand how historically harmless exchanges means a dead Black person in a morgue. It's the well-meaning white women, like the woman who accused a Black woman she was lying about receiving vanilla, that make us feel the most unsafe. To the women that this may have struck a nerve, don't expect Black women to teach you or remind you. Talk to each other. Talk to your community, family, church, whomever. Leave us out of it. So that was Black Girlin', right? And so we have another aggrieved white woman that jumps in. She says, man, y'all are relentless. You don't want us to ask questions, talk to you, let our kids play with y'alls. You think everything is a microaggression. How the F are we supposed to live together in communities when y'all keep cutting off everyone? So Black women feel aggrieved because of something like this, the dog piling on or whatnot. And then this is Darvo in action. She has reversed victim offender. Darvo is not just in relationships. Not just in romantic relationships. She literally just kind of became a victim in this story. And then this woman at the bottom says, you're literally who she's talking about. If you don't acknowledge what's going on and why, then no, you don't care about aggression. It wasn't macro. I think she meant to say micro. So you don't deserve to be in an online community when we can tell from your behavior, you don't do it well offline. It's literally a small role reversal. Calm down and move along. Hannah says to that lady at the top, here's that teachable moment you mentioned in your bio. I hope you choose to learn from it and not to further lodge your foot down in there. And then Zaria says, first off, if we tell you something is a microaggression, it is, as we live it every day. So there's your answer on why we say, don't ask us anything, because you're not listening anyway. We're not here to make you feel good. Go read a damn book. If all you received from her thread was this, then no, we don't want to build community with you. We can't trust you. And what the F you mean, y'all? Portia Noir says, we don't want any of that from you. I can assure you of that. You call a Black woman being harassed all day behind some vanilla beans is no big deal. We're supposed to be in community when a Black woman is accused of lying about vanilla beans. Be so for real right now. Be so for real. And so to that, Cooking with Yo says, you preaching over here today. So that is, in a nutshell, what VanillaGate was. And the fact that it's called VanillaGate is hilarious, considering it was a white woman coming for a Black woman. And if you know anything about vanilla bean, it's black on the outside. And it makes vanilla, which is vanilla, is white. So that is hilarious to me. Anyways, I had to bring this to you because, not everybody is over on Threads. Let me know what you think. I know this is a lot to unpack, because in order to be in community and have a fully functioning feminist community, some white women do have to unpack their internalized racism towards Black women. It really does just have to happen. We have to have these discussions. We can talk about the patriarchy all day. We can. But there is intersectional feminism for a reason, because even as women, there are oppressive women. There are women in the cohort that still try to raise themselves up higher than other people. You can still have grades of oppression even within the feminist spaces. Join the conversation and let me know what you think about this one. We have an open marriage regret post. So this was first posted in Polyamory, but it was cross-posted in the open marriage regret. And people are educating me that polyamory is not the same as opening up a relationship. I didn't know. I just didn't know. But I'm sure that people will be able to tell us the distinction if asked in the comments. Anyways, he says, open relationship to polyamory. 36-year-old wife is getting way more attention and offers than I am. He's 32. He says, so like the title says, my wife and I recently decided to try poly out, an open relationship thing. We downloaded apps and explored around, and my wife, being the beautiful and personable gal she is getting 1,000 times more matches and opportunities than I am. I've had maybe 3 matches, and they went nowhere, ghosted, or suddenly decided they didn't want to be with a poly guy. I can't help feel jealous, unwanted, ugly, and like she is going to be able to experience to the fullest extent, and I won't be able to. Is poly not good for us if I'm jealous of the time she's spending with other men, and I probably won't have a woman in a similar role? The reason why these stories are always hysterical is because dudes in general believe that at any age they could just pull women. They must really have these fun house mirrors in their homes where they think that no matter what, they are irresistible. They could be 30s, 40s. They think that some 18 to 25-year-old woman is checking for them, and probably a whole lot. There'll be these average or basic bobs. We had talked about basic bob like 2 days ago, but and they really still think they could say stuff like, there's an 18-year-old coming out, she's going to be there waiting for you. There's a new class of 18-year-olds all the time. Like, okay, that doesn't mean she wants you, but I really do believe that they are delusional. And they underestimate the way women can pull. Women can pull just by simply showing up and being available. Women really don't have to do that much. And simply because they underappreciate their own women, and I don't know if that's necessarily this guy, but women can pull, period. Women just have some, they can hold back. Women have some restraint about themselves because many just want to be in the relationships that they're in. Let's look at some of these comments. This person, Emerald Dad, says, no, this is normal, but this is a sign you've done zero homework to determine reasonable expectations. Level up or this will be a disaster. Silkworm says, for real, it's so fascinating seeing people just jump in and wonder, how could this have gone wrong? ACU says, I haven't seen their profiles, of course, but does this mean that men have to work that much harder on their profiles, but women can just trip into the 100s or thousands of matches? Yes, because this is a numbers game. There are not that many women on dating apps. Women are coming off of dating apps. So if a woman just shows up and is decent, she's going to get a whole lot of, matches. I wouldn't know, I'm not on the dating apps, but it's just a numbers game. Silkworm says, if dating for men is akin to wandering through a scarcely populated desert, for women is like wading in a fetid swamp. Little Fluffy Long Boy says, I like to think of it as a person dying of thirst watching someone drown. Traper says, good comparison. Lots of rotten meat in the swamps. Satin's Little Princess says, yes, dude. If one is a woman on a dating app, there will be a lot of guys who are seeking an unpaid ex-worker they can use, and they are likely to like your profile. Do you really think those are people your wife would want to date? And then Groundbreaking says, no, that's BS. Women will get thousands of unilateral likes from random dudes from any continent. But if they screen for explicitly ENM or ethical non-monogamy and poly people in their town, the number of matches is nothing like they will have you believe. So there you have that as well. There's not going to be a whole lot of people in the area, but all of the likes could be like alarming to the dude in the situation. Like, oh my God, people actually like her. But keep in mind also that the men that are liking stuff are probably just liking all of the women like this, like it's a game. New Timeline, please says, I normally have women only on my matches. When I turn on men to find my partner on his profile, 15 to 20 minutes max to try, and I had 83 hits. I was in a very big city. It is insane the way it is unequal. I don't know how men ever find a partner. My partner can go months without a date. ACU says, how does this affect your relationship with your partner? Do you ever stop the apps so he catches up? I'd imagine initially, at least, that this must just kill a guy's ego to watch your partner clean up on matches, and it's literally crickets for the guy. And so then she says, I don't stop mine so he catches up. However, lots of my matches fizzle or they aren't the right person for me. He actually finds really good people off the start, so it equals out in the long run. We don't look at it like a race or a competition. Does it suck when one of us is dating a lot and the other is crickets? Well, yeah, but it's just out of boredom, LOL. Honestly, he has had more steady things than I have, so if anything, he's gotten the better part of it. Quantity doesn't equal quality. And keep in mind, this is in the Polyamory subreddit, so these are people that are already obviously open to this. So over here in the Open Marriage Regrets subreddit, you get a different type of comment. So Specialist Host at the bottom says, well, duh, all even a moderately attractive woman has to do is find a man and tell them that she's ready to do the nasty and she gets to go home with him. I don't know what rock this dude is living under, but men don't have that option. Nana Pancake Enthusiast says, there is nothing less desirable than a man on a dating app, let alone a married man. These people are completely delusional. Twin Peaker says, can we say this louder? People aren't hearing it enough. And that's the reason why I had to make sure y'all saw that there is a difference between what's going to be on the polyamory subreddit and this subreddit. Because the polyamory subreddit, they're already open to this. These people are like, no, we are not into this. So that's the reason why they share the regrets over on this sub. Emergency Twist says, why do these dudes all think we're going to be hot commodities? And then Iron Wave at the bottom says, corn brain rot. And I'll end it there. They really are delusional. They have mush brains because of corn brain rot. Let me know what you think of this one. I came across this post a couple of days ago on Threads. This woman named Johnny says, I broke up with my psychiatrist of 6 years in our last appointment. Explicitly stated that I would not continue seeking treatment from him because he went off on an anti-DEI rant that made me super uncomfortable. Immediately found a new provider, and today I get this email. Absolutely insane work. Keep in mind, she says she broke up with him, but now he is quitting her. He says, good morning, Amy. After thinking about our last conversation on 9/24, I have decided it is in my best interest to terminate our working relationship. I did absolutely nothing wrong by explaining that some folks are pleased with the shift away from DEI to a merit-based system. That is not even an opinion, it is reality. Your stated intention to fire me for saying something that is entirely factual was out of line and disrespectful to me and our working relationship over the past 6 years. And I am not able to work with someone who would be this reactive and illogical in their behavior towards me. You've had 3 weeks to consider your words, and apparently you feel no apology or explanation is owed to me, and I find that unacceptable. Your last prescription will be released on 11/9, and after that, I wish you well on your search for a new provider. Regards, Dr. Mills. So he says he is terminating up there, and then down here, he says, you stated your intention to fire me. So he is terminating her, even though he had already been fired. Some of these people, honestly, they just have to get the last word in order to feel better about themselves. Obviously, this was posted on Threads because I got the screenshots. Other people saw this post and decided to contact Dr. Mills. I have no idea how they found all this man's information from this letter. Maybe she posted it other places, but I did not go and look. But here is the update. She says, update. Thank you to everyone for your support. Truly, it is so validating. After receiving emails from some of you, he felt it was appropriate to follow up with the new email, which will be included in my report to the Illinois Medical Board. Dr. Mills says to Amy, I do not appreciate Cole reaching out to me on your behalf to inflame what has been a misunderstanding. To explain, although you did initially state you would be looking for another provider, we continued to talk for a few minutes, and at the end of that time, I then asked if you would like to schedule, and you said you need to think about that. I had hoped you would reconsider your words and realize what did I even say that was so triggering, and contact me, and we could have potentially moved past it. Your feelings are clear. Please call off the dogs sending me emails. That isn't necessary. I'm sorry any of this happened, and I genuinely wish you well. Thank you. So he thinks that her talking to him a few minutes after this incident was indication that she wasn't really firing him. I think he is the one with the misunderstanding. But that first letter was so hilarious. He was like, you did not apologize to me. You did not reach out to me. And I'm like, why would she? All of this is hysterical to me. Jeanette says, my response, as a professional, I did not expect you to take this personally. As stated in our last session, I would be looking for a new provider and have since found one. I hope you will be able to move past this. Heidi says, your shrink needs some serious therapy for his narcissistic codependency. Ree says, right. Alice says, poor grammar. Sign of a disordered mind. I'm just saying. T. Nicole says, digging himself deeper with every message. How does a psychiatrist of all people not grasp the concept of boundaries and or leaving well enough alone? But also, is this really a licensed psychiatrist? Grammar is all over the place. Mannequin says, for what it's worth, no professional is really expected to have a grasp of style and grammar except arguably writers and editors. It's pretty much the reason that the latter have careers. And then Lou says, it's basic literacy, not magic. Our bachelor RN says he sounds like he has his own pathology, to be honest. This is a manipulative tactic to try and redirect you from any further action. I wish that Dr. Well, when he has to explain his inappropriate conduct to the medical board, he's using like inflamed followed by misunderstanding. Then I had hoped you would reconsider your words is a continuation of the backhanded allegation that you are the one who was inappropriate. Triggering is intended to minimize your very valid feelings. She continues with, moved past it should also be moved past it. Telling a former patient you are supposed to be apologizing to call off the dogs invalidates the entire apology. Dr. Mills doesn't wish you well. He wishes he hadn't put himself or herself in a pickle. I hope the board sanctions them appropriately for this misconduct that could have, in real life, caused a former patient suffering and distress. Please use feelings in your report and tell them what you felt reading this. Anxiety, fear. Jim at the bottom says, the grammar is giving. I absolutely believe DEI isn't associated in any way with actual merit. And that is the God's honest truth. Why these people don't really understand what DEI is amazing to me. But what our bachelor RN says is completely appropriate. I like what this person says, because why doesn't this doctor understand boundaries and not acting like that woman was triggered when he or she, is probably a he, is the one who is triggered. But that is the type of person that needs to show themselves in a particular light. And then when she exposed him, he's like, oh my goodness, I need to fix this, because he can't leave well enough alone. He keeps digging himself more into a hole. Johnny says, I responded with one simple sentence. Thank you for your email. I will be including this in my report to the state regulatory board. He hasn't responded. Star says, please ensure that that is not only a message. I fear for his other clients, genuinely. And then Johnny says, I have been at work all day, but as soon as I get home and can use my personal laptop, I'll be filing a report. I already found the portal, but it's not optimized for mobile. Okay, so Johnny put in she put in her report. Okay, now let's fast forward. Keep in mind, I got these screenshots when it was 1 hour old, but this was 2 days ago. She says, complaint filed. Thank you all again for your support and validation. I am genuinely overwhelmed with all of your responses and encouragement, and I'll be sure to keep the thread updated as this progresses. It's been a wild ride. Now, we have this person at the bottom. Fran is not a fan. Fran says, you're the reason people don't want to get $100,000 in debt to serve the community. Someone has a disagreement and you try to strip them of their license. You're the problem, and I'm so glad he told you so. So she's the problem. This is like Darvo on someone else's behalf. She decided to reverse victim offender on Dr. Mills' behalf. Dr. Mills was inappropriate. Johnny called Dr. Mills out. Fran says, you're the problem. That's Darvo on someone else's behalf. Or maybe France is a flying monkey. Jeanette says, this is beyond that. She told him she'd find another provider and he continued to contact her. And it is in no way her fault that people took it upon themselves to give this doctor a piece of their mind. Y'all should really call yourselves snowflakes and sensitive, because according to this situation, it was Mr. Psychiatrist that couldn't handle the disagreement. Responding again 3 weeks later is pathetic. All right, I'm going to end it with that. I just thought that it was very interesting that this doctor had the "you can't fire me, I quit" type of attitude 3 weeks later. But people do say that that there are a lot of narcissistic people that go into those types of professions. So maybe it's really true. And like I said before, this does feel like this is a man doing this. Dr. Mills feels like this is totally a dude. Let me know what you think about all of this.
When you're a woman, there are two things that patriarchy really does not want you to have: opinions and options.